Hello, hello. I wanted to make a video about something that I'm very passionate about, and that is that I feel Americans specifically are experiencing different realities. And what I mean by that, or to give you kind of an idea of what I'm thinking, is that because of the rise in technology and people are getting their news sources from different sources. They're getting their news from different sources. So let's say you watch a video on YouTube and they have more links there on the left side, the right side, sorry, the right side, and or down below or whatever. And you click on another link and it just kind of leads you deeper and deeper into a rabbit hole. It's like confirmation bias. More videos about what you just watched that kind of reinforce things that you might already believe. I catch myself doing this. So I know that it's just kind of a reality of life these days. So it used to be when we were growing up, and let's just say 80s, early 90s, and even, 20 years ago, it was still maybe the same. This is 2024, by the way, end of 2024. It used to be that people would sit down to the same nightly news. Their news sources came from a more common source. Now, whether or not news was the truth or whatever, that's one thing, but they were, at least everybody was seeing the same news. So there's this thinking in New Age philosophy that your thoughts create your reality. And I don't know to what extent. I mean, to some extent, I definitely believe it because of this. I don't completely believe it, like not all about the secret and complete manifestation, just by changing your thoughts. But I do believe that there is something to this where we are seeing certain things, and that's leading us down a parallel reality to what other people are seeing and believing and being led down. And so we're seeing America extremely divided. I think it's to the extent that people can't even talk to each other anymore, especially politically. Mostly I'm referring to politics. So this is a problem, y'all. This is a big problem. So I found one video, maybe there's more, but this video really kind of supports what I'm saying. And I'd really like for you to see it. Hold on one second. Oh, I'm sorry. So much dead space. And let me share the screen. Okay.
The unusual thing about you.
Well, I've been a lifelong Republican for 44 years, and I am voting for Harris.
This time.
This time I am. I voted for Trump in 2016, but I voted for Biden in 2020, and I'm voting for Harris in 2024.
I'll come back to you on that. Tell our viewers about yourself.
Well, I voted for Reagan after much research in the early 80s in my first election, and I've remained a devout Republican.
How long have you two been married?
30 years.
Okay. Why are you voting for Harris this time?
Well, I really didn't think he would get the nomination in 2016, but I voted for him as a Republican, thinking, how bad can he be? I thought there'd be guardrails. I thought there'd be adults in the room, and I was wrong. I was wrong. It's been a journey to see our country being undermined by the president. For me, to see it that view, undermining the rule of law, the Constitution, the checks and balances, undermining the press so that nobody believes anything anymore. All the various things. And then after that, I mean, that was bad enough for me that I couldn't support him in 2020. But then after that, the insurrection on January 6th, as well as the big lie that he said he did not, that he wanted, but it was stolen from him. That's undermined confidence in our entire electoral system, and it's undermined confidence in the peaceful transfer of power for the January 6th insurrection. So now I'm adamantly opposed, and I'm public about it. I wasn't in 2020. I just said I'm not going to vote for him. But now I've joined groups like Republican Voters Against Trump, and that's how you found me.
Is that not a pretty powerful argument against voting for Donald Trump?
He and I view the entire past 8 years differently. I voted for him in 2016 to drain the swamp of Washington, D.C.
Did he do that?
He only had 4 years, and
How
the
long does it
next-
take?
Well, I think that the next 4, after he wins the election, that's what it's going to take, the next 4. I think that's why he has been so vehemently attacked, is because those in charge and those in power know exactly what he's going to do. They're going to be exposed, and they're going to have to leave their cushy positions within our government that they've been living in and just working for years, 40 years, 35 years. Joe Biden has been in our government and doesn't have anything to show for it. So
I want to say something here because I feel like there are a lot of people who want to see the swamp drained. We want to see the insincere, lying, cheating, leave Washington. I really do not think that people actually trust our government anymore. I don't trust our government anymore, to be honest. And I feel like this is what they have grabbed onto about Trump, which I'll talk a little bit more about a theory I have later. But what she wants, or what she hoped Trump would do, I think a lot of us want someone to do. We want that to happen, but we want someone who we think we can trust with the power of being the top leader in the world.
Your husband talks about the lies, the false claims of the 2020 election being rigged and it was stolen from him, and then of course the violence that we saw on January the 6th. Why does that not put you off Donald Trump?
So I too believe that the election was stolen from him.
Do
I
you?
believe there was ballot box stuffing. I believe that a lot of ballots disappeared.
But there's no evidence.
I believe that there is evidence. I believe that a lot of the evidence has been suppressed. As for January 6th, I think that was orchestrated. I don't believe that was a
By who?
spontaneous event. Well, I think that a peaceful protest was organized, and once the DNC caught wind of it, the powers that be, probably Nancy Pelosi, said, let it happen. Let it happen. Let's invite them in. Stand down. Guards stand down. Invite them into the Capitol and let the world, encourage them to disrespect the Capitol, disrespect us.
There's forgive me, there's no evidence that Nancy Pelosi did that. There is evidence that Donald Trump stood there at the ellipse and said, we will fight, and if you don't fight, we won't have a country.
So I think when you say evidence, you're referring to what's been shown mainstream, what has been given to us, what has been fed to us. But if you look deep enough, there is evidence. There's plenty of evidence that the gates were opened to the protesters. The guards, the Capitol Police opened up the doors and said, come on in, we'll give you a tour.
Okay,
Look at his face.
you're listening to Erica explain that. What do you think?
Well, I think she's fallen victim for what the same as the MAGA movement has as well. If you've drank the Kool-Aid, you're not going to see anything else but that. So what we all watched it on January 6th. I saw the world saw us turn into a banana republic, is what it looked like to me, and that the threats of hang Mike Pence for not helping undermine the transfer of power and the certification of the election. To me, it was like the lowest point I've ever seen in our country's history, and I don't want to see it repeated again going forward. So I think that was an attempt, and now there's going to be more than that after this election.
If Donald Trump doesn't win?
Yeah, if he doesn't win, I think it's going to be sort of like a January 6th 2.0, and it's going to be better preparation, more lawsuits, more attempts to overthrow the results of the election.
Does that worry you?
Oh, yeah, it worries me. It worries me that this is going to continue on through the rest of the 20s, and it's not over whether he wins or loses, or even if he's gone. It's that movement is dug in deep enough that we're facing this problem in the United States throughout the rest of the 20s, if not through 2032 election as well. But 2028, I don't see it as going to be any better, and he won't even be able to run. It'll be surrogates or somebody like that, J.D. Vance.
If Kamala Harris wins, people say I've heard people, they've said it to me since we've been here, it's the end of our country, prices will continue going up, there'll be more wars, she's a communist. Do you believe that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like he's the one that has been drinking the Kool-Aid.
Can I just say that words and like names like communist, fascist, all kinds of words like this that have very specific meanings are being utilized so loosely. It's kind of like people saying their exes are narcissists or whatever. Like everybody's a narcissist. Everybody's a narcissist. Well, there's an actual narcissistic personality disorder. And you can actually, I believe you can even be on like a spectrum. But anyway, I don't know that people say things without actually having evidence, just because they don't like the person. It's a little infuriating, to be honest.
He believes what he sees on the news. He believes what is
He
essentially,
being who? Sorry.
Robert,
Your husband?
my husband.
Right, sorry.
He's the one that is being duped. He's the one that is only seeing what they want him to see.
This is so fascinating, isn't it?
Yes.
You've been married for, what did you say?
30 years.
30 years. You love each other?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're still in love? Would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah? And you think he's been duped, he's the
Yes.
gullible one,
Yes.
and you think she's the gullible one.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you not talk about politics in your home?
Well, I can remember the first time we did have a conversation when I realized that he was not supporting Donald Trump was during his first stint in office, and we were at a restaurant, and I was shocked when he was arguing with me about what good he was doing. And I was just incredulous. I was, how can you think this? And we were getting louder and louder and louder until the entire restaurant was like looking at us. And I'm like,
This is like a scene from a film.
we can't talk about this. We just
Wow.
can't.
So we don't really talk about it.
No.
No, we just leave that part out, and then
Yeah.
we have other things like our children, our grandchildren, and all
Work,
those other things.
you know.
And we have Seinfeld in common.
You have what? Seinfeld in common. Well, thank goodness for something. But even if you don't talk about it, you know
Okay.
that you.
Obviously, I don't even know if they do continue to talk, but you get the idea. Basically, excuse me. Basically, these two people are married to each other and they do not see the same reality. They both think that each other is the one that's duped. And I think that's really fascinating. I actually was in a relationship. I was actually engaged to somebody when Trump was in office the first time. We dated 2019 till the end of 2021. And so that was actually a major part of why our engagement was called off. And we didn't get married because we were not seeing the same reality. He told me that, Trump was a hugely successful business owner and he had a ton of money. There were numbers involved, but I was like, I don't get that sense. I think he just kind of dupes people. I don't know. That's kind of the sense that I get. Now, so it's like people have a feeling or a vibe about Donald Trump. And this is creating, the fact that people are seeing differing news sources and it's kind of creating different news. And it's the fact that we are not all seeing the same facts, the same nightly news, basically. I don't know how else to describe it. So I have some questions. So thinking about Donald Trump, I was on a walk today and I had these questions. Like, for one, does the end justify the means? So let's look at it this way. Thinking about Donald Trump, there are these things about him. He's clearly a criminal. And if you cannot agree with the fact that he's a criminal, just turn this off right now. Like, there's no point in actually having a discussion. If you can't admit that he is a criminal of multiple types, then there's nothing to discuss. He is a criminal. Do the things that he wants to do. Like I said, we all want change. I think this is why he has gotten such a hold on people, is because we see someone who's very charismatic. I am actually one of the childish cat ladies that Vance talks about. I actually have 3. So we all want the swamp to be drained. And I think people have seen this charismatic, very, what do I want to say? Like, very, I guess, pushy personality. Like, he's just very sure of himself. He's very, seems very driven. And interestingly, I'm an astrologer and I have looked at his birth chart, and some of these things are very obvious in his birth chart. A lot of the things about him, which is very fascinating. But since they see something that we have not seen, let's be honest, when other people, other politicians run, I do get the feeling like, it's just going to be the same old, same old. Like, there's not going to be any real change. They're just saying what we want to hear so that we elect them. So with Donald Trump, you definitely don't get that sense. Or at least I don't. I do feel like he appeals to the people who really want the swamp drained, who really want change. And it's because he's a chaos maker, for one thing. But so there's this end goal of wanting things to change. And we have this one person that comes along and is willing to run for president that looks different. And does it make it okay that he's a criminal just because we see this one thing about him? Why do people discount all the negative things, all the things that would tell a person you can't trust this person? I really don't think that he's trustworthy with power, to be honest. Like, they're wanting to do this Project 2025 deal, and they're wanting, and I get it, from what I can tell, they're doing 2 things. They're trying to scale back government drastically in an attempt to take away the government control, which I kind of border on libertarianism, so I'm not anti-scaling government back. Actually, I think it would be a really good thing to put more power locally. But so that's one goal. And the second goal does seem to be to reverse time and go back to when women had less rights. People couldn't be openly gay. People, so they couldn't love who they love, all that stuff. All the stuff about our rights. And, oh yeah, let's not forget immigration. I guess to a time before we had other people here in America. That's a whole nother issue, immigration. But so I guess my point is, do these things about him erase the good? Here's another question. Here's a very odd question. Do these seemingly negative qualities contribute to his ability to get done what needs to be done and achieve the end goal of saving America? Like, clearly our government has gone off track. We don't trust the government anymore. We don't really seem to be getting much done in government. And that may be because over time we have had an increase in government where it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So my question is, does a person who wants to come in and drain the swamp actually need these negative qualities that Donald Trump has? Being a liar, being mean, calling people names, being a criminal, not paying your bills. In fact, I saw an article not long ago on the internet about some venue down in, like, I don't know, Arizona, I think it was, or maybe it's Texas. I think it was Arizona, that he never paid the bill for. So they wanted to come back and have another rally. And they suddenly, last minute, had to find somewhere else to have the rally because he never paid the bill the first time. So they wouldn't let him come back, which I thought was really funny. So yes, I have evidence, if you can believe news stories on the internet. Which, yeah, don't debate that, please. So, so there's a question, like, is it quite possible that you have to have these qualities in order to be able to drain the swamp or root out the evil in the government? Could it be that? Like, are these Trump supporters thinking that that is why it's okay to be a criminal, a rapist, and a liar, and name caller, and be cruel? And I don't know. I am just trying to understand. And why are religious people taking a hold of Trump? You know, there was recently a video of a pastor, an evangelical pastor, a pastor of an evangelical church, telling his congregation in a sermon that it is wrong to have a Trump Bible. Like, for Trump to have made these Bibles, because God is bigger than America. God is bigger than America. It's blasphemous, is basically what he said, and it's disgusting. So I was actually really happy to see that, because I just felt like that was really low of him to take the Bible and do what he did to it. I was raised Christian, so although I don't call myself a Christian these days, because of reasons I won't go into, but I was raised with those values. And for somebody to do that is just wrong. So, but these religious people, so there's becoming less separation between church and state. And it's, you know, the comments on YouTube and Facebook are pretty crazy when it comes to, like, you know, my candidate, you know, Trump supporter was like, my candidate is the good person. And it's a thing of good versus evil. And I'm like, wow, we're talking about government, where this is becoming a situation like an end time sort of, definitely it's possible that these are the end time events. And I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, so they have this whole thing about end time events and the whole, you know, separation of church and state thing. So I just don't understand how a person can be religious and claim to be a Christian and condone the way he acts. It's like he has cheapened the presidency. He's cheapened the presidency. So, yeah, I do think that Trump is very power hungry. So, because I feel like I am a good judge of character, as maybe everybody does, maybe this is something that everybody claims that they can do. I get that the person who drains the swamp has to go in and be given a lot of power. There has to be a lot of things that are done to uproot the evil or the issues that we have in our government. They will be given a lot of power. So do I want this person who is given this power to have good moral character? Yes, I do. Because they could very easily take that power and become a Hitler. They really could. And, you know, we've heard things that Trump says. So, and these are things you could say, well, you know, it's taken out of context. It's, you know, these are whole rallies. I honestly have not sat down and listened to a whole rally, nor do I want to, but these things are not taken out of context. So again, maybe it's an issue that we're completely seeing different realities and we're just not experiencing what is being said as the same reality. Something that's very telling, I think, about Trump is that he is a divider. He is not a uniter. He has this very tribal mentality about himself, and it's a very us versus them sort of mentality. So I don't think that's what we need right now. We don't need someone that's going to be us against them. We need somebody who is going to unite people. We need someone who's going to unite people. So I imagine that there could be somebody that comes along and says, hey, yes, we do need a change in Washington. We do need to drain the swamp. But they're going to be a person that unites people, that doesn't create this division in America between the left and the right. And we are all going to be united against what's happening, kind of maybe united against the elite, or united against people who have the majority of power and who are, controlling things for the rest of us. And, this is very similar to what I've seen in dating these days. I've made one video about dating and I plan to make more, but I'm really seeing a lot of division. We're seeing a lot of, now that women have more independence and power of their own and the ability to survive outside of being in a marriage with a man, we're seeing women not want to be married or in a relationship because they don't want to put up the toxic masculinity things, like anger and just control and things like that. Then men's response to that is, well, F you, I'm going to, I don't need you. I can always just get a prostitute or whatever. Like there's this thing out there. I don't know if you guys have seen that video of mine where men are also just leaving relationship, the idea of even being in a relationship. So the sexes are actually dividing. We are not coming together. We are not talking. We need a uniter. We need somebody who's going to be positive, who comes in and helps us to learn to get along, because for whatever reason, we have learned to not get along. So I do think a lot of this has to do with the rise in technology. I do think if people were to take a break from their everyday lives, take a media fast, go do a retreat for, it'd be nice to do it for up to a month, but that's not really realistic in most people's lives, unless you can work remote or whatever. But just really look at your day-to-day and try to come to a place where you can see things differently, and come to a place where you can find reasons to be together, not reasons to be apart. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about this, about how people are seeing different realities, how these two people that we saw in the video are completely seeing different things, and how this is the real enemy. It could actually be that there's a foreign actor at play. I think they've actually found some things about Russia right around the election. There was something about Russia that there was something, and they were posing. Sorry, y'all, I'm not really that great with facts. No comments about that from you right wingers. But it could be that there are people posing as Americans who are saying these divisive things, or saying things that lead us down one rabbit hole or another, that are just trying to break America up. So if we can realize this, I think this is not being talked about enough. I don't understand why this is not getting more interest. If we could get people to talk about this and acknowledge that this could be happening, I think it would really help. So anyway, please comment if you have something to say. I appreciate you watching. This is probably a pretty long video.